She took his deal to destroy him from the inside. 14 days since Ethan Cross said, "Cross Acquisitions," and the name detonated in her chest like a grenade. She'd Googled him that first night, of course. Found the Forbes profiles, the business articles, the society photos. But Cross was common. She'd been too focused on Oliver's surgery, too desperate and grateful to think clearly. Then she'd walked into this building and seen the logo. Brushed steel letters in the marble lobby. The same logo from the letterhead on her father's desk the day he died. The same company that had circled Jensen Technologies like a predator, waiting for the kill. She'd stood frozen while Diane appeared at her elbow. "Miss Jensen, are you all right?" Nora had two choices: run or stay. Run meant Oliver's medical bills would destroy them both. Stay meant working for the man who murdered her father. "I'm fine," she'd said, "just overwhelmed." That was 2 weeks ago. Now she sat in her office next to Ethan's, surrounded by glass and steel and files for companies he was acquiring. Through the window, she watched him on a conference call, commanding his empire with casual precision. He had no idea who she really was, and she was going to find proof of exactly what he'd done. 6 years ago, David Jensen had owned Jensen Technologies, 200 employees, cutting-edge encryption software, built from nothing. Then Ethan Cross made a buyout offer David called insulting. Within months, everything collapsed. Their biggest clients vanished. Key employees were poached. Whispers started, security flaws that didn't exist, financial problems that appeared from nowhere. 6 months later, bankruptcy. Then 3 weeks after that, David Jensen had a fatal heart attack. Oliver found him slumped over his desk, a letter from Cross Acquisitions beneath his hand. A final buyout offer for pennies on the dollar. Vultures don't hunt, David had told their mother in those final days. They wait for you to die, then they feast. 2 years later, cancer took Sarah Jensen. Or maybe it was grief wearing disease as a mask. Nora dropped out of MIT. Oliver's heart condition worsened. She worked 3 jobs for 6 years and never forgot the man who killed her father. Now she was his personal assistant, but not for long. "Miss Jensen." Ethan stood in her doorway, jacket off, sleeves rolled up. 2 weeks, and her hatred should have calcified into something cold and useful. Instead, she felt it waver every time he did something unexpected. Like now. "I need your analysis of the Hartman Industries restructuring," he said, placing a file on her desk. "Your thoughts on the employee retention program particularly." "Of course, Mr. Cross." "You disagree with something?" Not a question. He'd learned to read her too quickly. "The severance packages for the executives you're replacing," Nora said carefully. "They're generous." They are. They ran the company into the ground. Why reward failure? Ethan's expression shifted, something almost like approval. Because treating people with dignity, even when they fail, sets the tone for everyone watching. The workers need to see that we value human beings, not just quarterly profits. It's the difference between a culture of fear and a culture of trust. He placed a small mechanical puzzle next to the file. "Solve this by end of day." Before she could respond, he was gone. Nora stared at the puzzle, the 7th in 2 weeks. She'd solved them all. They were becoming a language between them, these impossible problems she untangled, while he watched with something that looked dangerously close to admiration. "Focus," she told herself. "He's a monster. Don't forget what he did." But the Hartman Industries meeting yesterday had shaken her. She'd watched Ethan refuse to fire a single factory worker. "Equipment can be replaced," he told the board. "Buildings can be rebuilt. But institutional knowledge, worker expertise, human dignity, Those are irreplaceable. This wasn't the vulture from her father's story. Late Friday night, the office was empty except for them. Nora brought coffee to Ethan's desk, his standing order, black, no sugar. He looked up from his laptop, and in the city lights from the window, he looked younger. Tired. You don't have to stay this late, he said. Neither do you. I'm the boss. It's different. Is it? Nora sat across from him, bold in her exhaustion. Why do they call you the vulture? Ethan leaned back. Because I profit from death. Companies die, and I pick the bones clean. Is that what you think you do? Does it matter what I think? His dark eyes held hers. People believe what they want to believe. The truth is always less interesting than the story. What's the truth then? That I rebuild what others destroy? That I try to save jobs when I can? That I fail more often than I succeed? He paused. What story do you believe, Miss Jensen? That you're a killer, she thought. That you murdered my father, and I'm going to prove it. I believe, she said carefully, that people are more complicated than their reputations. Something unreadable crossed his face. Careful. That kind of thinking will get you disappointed. Nora visited Oliver 2.5 weeks post-surgery. He was home, but still recovering. Color was returning to his face, but he tired easily, still moved with the careful deliberation of someone healing from major trauma. You look different, he said from the couch where he spent most of his time. The job is good? Challenging. Corporate consulting. Oliver's tone was flat. You still won't tell me which firm? It's boring work, analysis, reports. She squeezed his hand. How are you feeling? Stronger every day. He managed to smile. Thanks to you. Guilt twisted in her stomach. Not thanks to her. Thanks to Ethan Cross, the man who'd killed their father. The irony was suffocating. After she left, Oliver reached for the business card on his coffee table, the one that had fallen from Nora's bag last week when she'd set it down to help him to the bathroom. He'd picked it up after she'd gone, thinking it was trash. Then he'd seen the name embossed in black letters. Nora Jensen, Executive Assistant, Cross Acquisitions. Cross Acquisitions. Ethan Cross. His sister was working for their father's murderer. For a week, Oliver had said nothing, trying to understand, trying to give her the benefit of doubt. Maybe she didn't know. Maybe she hadn't made the connection. But the evasiveness, the lies about corporate consulting, she knew exactly who she was working for, which meant either she'd betrayed their father's memory or she was playing a deeper game. Oliver opened his laptop to the email he'd received 12 months ago. The sender, Victor Aldridge. I know what Ethan Cross did to your father. My father was David's CFO and best friend. Cross destroyed them both. If you want justice, I can help. For a year, Victor had sent evidence, financial records, testimony from former employees, building Oliver's rage, piece by piece. But Oliver had been too sick to act. No access, no leverage. Until now. He picked up his phone and dialed. Victor, Oliver said when the call connected. She's working for him. Nora is working for Ethan Cross. Monday morning, Nora arrived early. She had files to review. Part of her job was analyzing acquisition targets, preparing briefings for Ethan's meetings. The Jensen Technologies folder was in her filing cabinet. She'd been looking for the Hartman follow-up documents when she saw it. A tab labeled with her father's company name, filed under Historical Acquisitions, Incomplete. Her hands shook as she pulled it out. Inside, due diligence reports, financial analyses, emails flagged with concern about accounting irregularities, a name that appeared repeatedly, Richard Aldridge, CFO, and a note in Ethan's handwriting. Subject refused intervention, unable to prevent collapse. 200 plus jobs lost, filed, failure. Nora stared at the words until they blurred. It didn't look like he was a predator. It looked like he'd tried to help. By week 4, Nora started hunting ghosts. The Jensen Technologies file had given her a name that appeared repeatedly. Richard Aldridge, CFO, her father's business partner. The emails in Ethan's files suggested he'd tried to warn David about accounting irregularities. About Richard. If Ethan was telling the truth, and that was still an if, then someone inside Jensen Technologies had been the real problem. Nora found former employees on LinkedIn, sent careful messages during lunch breaks she told Ethan were personal errands. I'm researching corporate restructuring failures. Would you be willing to discuss your experience at Jensen Technologies? Most ignored her. 3 responded. Sandra Chen, former HR director, met her at a Brooklyn coffee shop on a Saturday morning. Something was always off about Richard Aldridge, Sandra said. Too smooth, too many explanations for things that didn't add up. But David trusted him. College friends, you know. What kind of things? Financial irregularities, payments that looked wrong. Anyone who questioned it got shut down fast. Sandra's expression darkened. Then Ethan Cross showed up with an acquisition offer. David refused. Everything fell apart after that. Richard disappeared right before the bankruptcy. Marcus Webb, former IT director, was blunter. Someone was accessing accounts they shouldn't have been, moving money. I told David. Richard convinced him I was lying, that I was trying to take his job. David fired me 3 months before the collapse. He shook his head. Word was, Cross tried to warn David about embezzlement. David threw him out, called him a liar trying to steal the company. Embezzlement. 2 interviews, same story. Richard Aldridge, not Ethan Cross. Nora didn't know what to believe anymore. Week 5, Diane sent her to Meadowbrook Care Facility with forgotten contracts. Nora found Ethan in a sunny room with an elderly woman who stared at nothing. Mom, this is Nora, Ethan said gently. She works with me. Catherine Cross didn't respond. Early onset Alzheimer's had taken her somewhere unreachable. After Nora delivered the folder, Ethan gestured for her to sit. I come every Sunday. She doesn't know me anymore, but I remember for both of us. He told his mother about his week, about the Meridian deal, about a puzzle Nora had solved. Catherine smiled vacantly, and Ethan held her hand like it was the most precious thing in the world. Walking to the parking lot, Ethan was quiet. She was a nurse, he finally said. Worked double shifts after my father left. Taught me that work is dignity, that you take care of your people. His jaw tightened. Then she got sick. Everything she'd worked for. Gone to medical bills in 18 months. The system abandoned her. Is that why you save failing companies? Nora asked. Companies fail. That's economics. But the workers who gave their lives deserve better than being discarded. He looked at her. They deserve to be valued as human beings. Nora saw it then. The man behind the vulture. Someone who'd watched his mother destroyed and decided to fight back the only way he knew how. She was falling for him. God help her. She was falling for the man who might have killed her father. Oliver called Nora. We need to talk. Now. She found him standing in his apartment, holding her business card like evidence in a trial. Cross Acquisitions, he said, voice shaking. You're working for Ethan Cross. Oliver. Don't lie anymore. His eyes blazed. I found this last week. I've been waiting for you to tell me the truth. You never did. I know who he is, Nora said. I've known since my first day. Oliver stared. Then, why? Because I'm investigating him. Getting close, finding proof of what he did. I'm going to destroy him, Oliver. For Dad. By falling in love with him? Oliver's voice cracked. You think I can't see it? The way you talk about work? About him? You're not investigating. You're being manipulated. I'm not. Victor was right. Oliver's expression hardened. Ethan Cross destroys everything he touches. Who's Victor? Victor Aldridge. His father was Dad's CFO. Richard Aldridge. Cross destroyed both our fathers, and Victor has proof. Oliver moved to his laptop, pulled up an email. Victor contacted me a year ago. Sent me evidence. He's been helping me build a case while I was too sick to act. But now I'm better. And we're going to make Cross pay. Nora went cold. Richard Aldridge was Dad's business partner. Oliver, what if Victor is lying to you? Like Cross is lying to you? They stared at each other across a divide that hadn't existed before. Be careful, Oliver said quietly. Victor warned me Cross is dangerous, that he uses people and throws them away. Don't let him do that to you. Midnight in Ethan's office. Spreadsheets covered his desk. Meridian Technologies, $2 billion. Nora had solved the valuation problem he'd been stuck on for days. Solved it in 20 minutes. You're extraordinary, Ethan said quietly. They were leaning over the same numbers, his hand inches from hers. 2.5 months of puzzles and late nights and moments exactly like this, where Nora forgot why she hated him. It's just mathematics, she managed. It's not. His voice dropped. You see solutions that don't exist until you find them. He was looking at her like she was one of those puzzles. Nora's heart hammered. She should move. Step back. Remember who he was. Instead, she stayed perfectly still as Ethan leaned closer. His phone rang. The spell shattered. Ethan grabbed it, read the screen. Tokyo. I should take this. It's late anyway. Nora gathered her things with shaking hands. See you Monday. She left before he could see her face. That same night, Marcus finally ran the deep background check. The initial check when Nora was arrested had verified employment and medical records, enough to clear her as an immediate threat. But now she had access to Meridian files, worth billions. Protocol demanded a full forensic background. He ran it at 2 a.m. The report showed everything. Nora Jensen, daughter of David Jensen, founder of Jensen Technologies. The company Ethan tried to acquire 6 years ago. The company that collapsed. Marcus read it twice, then picked up his phone. Sir, he said when Ethan answered, we need to talk about Nora Jensen. I just discovered who she really is. Marcus arrived at 8 a.m. with a folder he didn't want to carry. Ethan was already at his desk, reviewing Meridian contracts. He looked up when Marcus entered and closed the door. You said it was urgent, Ethan said. Marcus placed the folder in front of him. Nora Jensen's full background report. You need to see this. Ethan opened it, read the first page, went completely still. Nora Marie Jensen, 26, daughter of David Jensen, deceased, and Sarah Jensen, deceased. Father, founder and CEO of Jensen Technologies. Bankruptcy filed March 2018. David Jensen died of cardiac arrest April 2018, 3 weeks post-bankruptcy. Mother died of cancer June 2020. The room felt airless. David Jensen's daughter, Ethan said quietly. She's been working for me for 10 weeks. She had access to everything, Marcus said. Meridian files, acquisition strategies, financial projections. If she's been feeding information to competitors, check her computer, her emails, all file access, Ethan's voice was flat. I want to know everything she's touched. Marcus nodded and left. Ethan stared at the report. David Jensen's daughter. The man he'd tried to save. The man who died thinking Ethan was his enemy. And his daughter had been sitting outside his office for 2.5 months. 1 hour later, Marcus returned. She accessed the Jensen Technologies file 7 weeks ago, early in her employment. Spent 20 minutes reviewing it. Otherwise, her file access is limited to active acquisitions she's assigned to. No suspicious emails. No unauthorized data transfers. No contact with competitors. She found the Jensen Tech file. Yes, sir. But if she's corporate espionage, she's been very careful. Or she's not what we feared. Ethan closed his eyes. She knew. She'd known who he was, taken the job anyway, and said nothing. The question was why. Send her in, Ethan said. Nora knew something was wrong the moment she saw Ethan's face. He stood by the window, hands in his pockets, expression unreadable. Close the door, please. She did. Is everything all right? Why didn't you tell me who you were? Her stomach dropped. What? Ethan turned to face her. David Jensen was your father. Jensen Technologies. The company I tried to acquire 6 years ago. Why didn't you tell me? The floor tilted. He knew. When did you figure it out? Ethan asked, voice dangerously calm. That first morning? When I said my name? Yes, Nora said. And you still agreed to work for me? Yes. Why? He moved closer. To investigate me? Find proof I destroyed your father's company? Get revenge? All of those things, Nora said, because lying now was pointless. I thought you killed him. I wanted to know why. I wanted to make you pay. Ethan's jaw tightened. And what did you find? Files that say you tried to warn him about embezzlement. Interviews with employees who say Richard Aldridge was the problem, not you. Evidence that contradicts everything I believed for 6 years. Her voice shook. I don't know what's real anymore. You think I fabricated it? The files, the emails, all of it? I don't know. You're a billionaire. You could manufacture evidence. I could, Ethan agreed, but I didn't. He moved to his desk, pulled out a thick folder, different from the one she'd found weeks ago. This is everything. Complete forensic accounting records. Richard Aldridge embezzled from Jensen Technologies for 3 years. When I discovered it during due diligence, I tried to tell your father. He wouldn't listen. Thought I was lying to get a cheap acquisition. He handed her the folder. Richard went scorched earth when exposure became imminent. Sold trade secrets, drained accounts, sabotaged everything. Your father authorized some of the transfers because Richard convinced him they were protecting assets from my hostile takeover. That's why David died feeling guilty. Not because I destroyed him. Because he realized he'd helped destroy himself. Nora stared at the documents. Bank transfers. Offshore accounts. Richard Aldridge's signature everywhere. This could still be fabricated. Yes, you'll never trust it, will you? Ethan's expression was unreadable. Just like David never trusted me. History repeating itself. Silence stretched between them. The 6-month contract, Ethan finally said. I'm releasing you from it. You're free to go. Nora looked up, stunned. What? I won't keep you here against your will. You accepted because Oliver needed surgery. That debt is cleared. You owe me nothing. Just like that? Just like that. He turned to the window, looking out at the city. Diane will process your severance. You'll be paid through the full 6 months, as agreed. Why? Because I'm not the monster you think I am. His voice was quiet. And because you deserve better than working for someone you hate. Nora stared at his back. He'd given her freedom, everything she thought she wanted. But if she left now, she'd never know the truth. "I'm not leaving," she said. Ethan turned, surprised. "Not yet. Not until I know what really happened to my father." Nora met his eyes. "If you're lying, I'll expose you. But if you're telling the truth, then someone else destroyed my family. And I need to know who." Something shifted in Ethan's expression. "All right, Miss Jensen. Stay. Find your truth. But when you do, I hope you can live with it." That evening, Oliver was waiting when Nora got home. One look at her face and he stood. "What happened?" "He knows. Ethan knows who I am." "Did he fire you?" "He tried to release me from the contract. I refused to leave." Nora sank onto the couch. "He showed me forensic evidence that Richard Aldridge embezzled from Dad's company. That Dad died knowing he'd trusted the wrong person." "Richard Aldridge is dead." "Is he?" Nora looked at her brother. "Victor Aldridge contacted you a year ago. That's Richard's son, isn't it?" Oliver went still. "How long have you been working with him?" "Since before my surgery. Victor's father was Dad's CFO and best friend. Cross destroyed both of them." "What does Victor want?" Oliver pulled up his laptop. "Justice." He opened files Victor had sent the night before. SEC documents. Proof that Ethan engaged in insider trading during Dad's company collapse. That he shorted the stock, profited from the bankruptcy. Victor's filing these with the SEC in 3 days. Federal investigation starts immediately. Nora's blood ran cold. 3 days. Cross will be arrested. His company destroyed. Everything he built torn apart. Just like what he did to Dad. "Oliver, what if Victor is lying to you?" "Why would he lie? His father is dead because of Cross too." "Is he?" Nora grabbed the laptop, searched Richard Aldridge, found articles from 6 years ago. Richard Aldridge, CFO of Jensen Technologies, missing and presumed dead after his yacht was found abandoned off the Cayman Islands. Coast Guard suspended search after 4 days. Body never recovered. Presumed dead. Not confirmed. "What if Richard isn't dead?" Nora said. "What if he's alive, and Victor knows exactly what his father did? What if he's using you to destroy Ethan?" "Before the truth comes out." "You're defending him." Oliver's voice hardened. "Cross has gotten into your head. Or maybe we've both been manipulated." Nora stood. "Did you verify anything Victor told you? Or did you believe him because he said what you wanted to hear?" "The SEC documents are real. Victor's filing them in 72 hours. Oliver's expression closed. "Cross is going down, Nora. With or without you." Nora had 72 hours to find the truth. Will Nora uncover what really destroyed her family? Or lose everything again? Watch part 3 right now. And don't forget to subscribe for more cinematic romance stories every day.